This podcast acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we record, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people. We also acknowledge the neighbouring Kulin Nation groups, the Bunwurrung and Bunurong people, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We also extend that respect to any other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities who may be listening today.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Glitter and Gold, the original Steps podcast, the first podcast dedicated to discussing and dissecting the legacy of Steps, the UK's biggest mixed gender pop group of all time. I am your host Scott, and as always I am joined by my two fabulous co-hosts. Words are never enough because he is a bad girl. It's Shane, and he's always up for a party and gonna make you feel alright. It's Brad. Hello, boys.
That's what all my Grindr reviews say, so glad that you're taking notice.
Or that you're obscenely delicious.
Not at the moment though, you poor thing. You're not well.
No, I got the corona. I'm back in 2020, unfortunately. Yeah, glad to see your two shining faces get me out of bed this evening.
You too.
And God, Shane, I have been living vicariously through your socials. How was Europe?
Oh, a little jaunt over to the UK to see some friends, aka Claire and Delta. No, it was a great couple of weeks away. I started off in Manchester, saw 3 shows of Girls Aloud, 11 out of 10, no notes for the entire for all shows. And yeah, we randomly met a Steps podcast fan, one of our podcast fans in the audience for Girls Aloud, which was kind of fun. His name is Derek. He's from America, so shout out to you, Derek. Hello.
Shane, I know. Because you were at Mighty Hoopla, we need a recap of the Claire and Delta moment.
Right. So, we wanted this to happen last year when she was doing her tour, right? Like her promo. But I completely forgot about it, to be honest, because I was like, oh no, Claire's on Saturday, Delta's on Sunday. No, Delta's not going to come early. It just won't happen. They've missed each other again like ships in the night. And then Claire does a little costume change. She puts the bow on, right? And which you've seen in the pictures. And, she starts singing, oh, I love this song. And it gets to the part where Delta starts singing and Delta just walks out all angelic-like. And I just hear this scream because my eyes were diverted away for a second because there was this annoying person in front of me trying to spill a drink. And so I just looked for a second and I was like, fuck off. And then I heard the person next to me go, oh my God, it's Delta Goodrem! And I just looked, I was like, I was recording. So I recorded it. I happened to capture the moment, but my eyes were just averted away for a second. But the crowd went off. I can't tell you how, when Delta came out, everyone was gagged.
After all these years.
They sounded incredible, like electric, like perfect for them to cover that song. And we know they've covered it, they've released it, but for them to do it and give us that gay moment, it was so great. It was so good. The crowd went wild for it. And it was like afterwards, because Claire was on at 7:30 or whatever. Afterwards, it was the talk. People, when I was leaving that night, I was, walking back to the train station, I could hear people going, oh my God, can you believe that Delta came out with Claire? It was the highlight of a lot of people's day that were not just in my friendship group that I was with, that I overheard. So, an outright success, I say.
I really feel like Claire is solidifying herself as a solo artist and a really, a really integral part of the festival season, and is really just coming into her own in the last year with all of the shows that she's been doing. the Claire and Delta moment, I woke up in the morning, Shane, you had bombarded our group chat, and I just saw the photo of them, and I was half asleep, and I saw it, and you know when you kind of have to do that double take of like, wait, what am I looking at? Wait, hold on. And is this a dream? I must have watched that performance about 100 times that day. So incredible that it finally happened. And I'm so jealous I wasn't there to witness it in person, but so happy it happened. So that they pulled it off.
Wish you both were there. Like, as soon as she came out, I was like, I wanted to just call you and just say, answer the bloody phone. Like, I know it's 2 a.m. in Australia and you're asleep, but answer the phone because it's a weekend. You should still be maybe awake. But
you know me, that's not possible.
No, you're in bed by 9. Grandpa. But anyway, it was incredible. It was magical. It was gay as hell. It was camp. It was pink. It was absolutely, she smashed that performance out of the park.
Let's get into some Steps news. So besides from Mighty Hoopla, Claire has been very active on the publicity trail for her new show, Everybody Dance. She's done The One Show, she's done Virgin Radio with Chris Evans. That's a really good one. That's like 20 minutes long, nice long interview.
Can I just say that interview they talk a lot about Steptacular.
Well, it is coming up to the 25th anniversary, which we might be celebrating sometime soon. My favourite bit that she's done recently, though, is her Table Manners episode with Jessie Ware. She talked a lot about TSD, which, Scott, you would have loved.
The Scandals.
TSD.
I actually didn't know they were called the Scandals until I had that. Did you know that, Scott?
Of course, you know I'm a TSD stan, Shane. Of course I knew that. Of course. I love any TSD content that we get, and Claire definitely talks about it a lot more these days than she used to, so I'm here for it. I loved I feel like they talked more about TSD than Steps in the interview, which I was here for.
I definitely noticed that. They also talked a lot about the actual Here and Now musical, which we already knew was about 4 friends who worked at, what's it called, Scott? Better Best Bargains.
Better Best Bargains.
But basically, the main character is about to turn 50, and she's challenged her 3 best friends to have a summer of love. She also revealed that the musical takes place over a week, which the cynic in me is like, really? They're all going to fall in love in a week? But
it can happen, Brad. You never know. Love at first sight.
Love's got a hold on someone's heart. Speaking of Everybody Dance, we don't have a set list yet, but she has been talking a lot about songs she wants to do. It's going to be a mix of songs from the 70s, up to now. There's going to be some step songs. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit more from the Euphoria album in there somehow.
Absolutely.
But I'm just so excited for that. I think it's going to be amazing. Are you guys going when you're there?
We are. We're still deciding which one we're going to go to.
We need to figure it out.
Probably no.
Go them all.
We won't be there
because
for all of them. There's 1 or 2, and there's one that's just before the musical opening night that
that's
we
the
may
Norwich
be able to.
One.
But so we're gonna go. We just got to figure it out.
Well, regardless, if you can't make that, there's also another solo gig. She's doing Manchester Pride on the 25th of August, supporting the one and only Sugar Babes. She also got to live her Rodeo Romeo fantasy, doing another fashion segment on This Morning, where she pulled together some Western looks for the models to show off. And finally, by the time this episode comes out, we will have the vinyl release of My Wildest Dreams. So I don't know whether you guys will be getting that now or whether you'll get that when you're in the UK in November.
No, it's pre-ordered, honey. We're recording this the Tuesday before. It will be dispatched in a few days and in my hands ASAP.
Yep.
Can't wait.
Same.
Now, speaking of our Steps girlies, Faye did another Instagram live, this time with menopause fitness coach Kate Rowe Ham, which you can watch on Faye's Instagram. That rhymes. She also attended the Women's Football Awards and the British LGBTA Awards, where she was seated with the iconic Gemma Collins.
Can I just say that was random and the most iconic thing I've ever seen? Faye and Gemma Collins on a table together, amazing.
She's also announced some more 101 Dalmatian dates in November. She'll be at the King's Theatre in Glasgow from the 12th to the 16th of November, followed by the Edinburgh, thank you, from the 20th to the 23rd of November. You can buy tickets for those at atgtickets.co.uk.
And Shane and I are going to one of those.
Either Glasgow or Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's also a cute behind-the-scenes video now on Instagram and YouTube from the 101 Dalmatians rehearsal space.
I was just going to say, to add to Faye, she's been very busy on the socials the last few days. She went and saw Taylor Swift at Wembley last night. Did you see that?
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, she went and saw Taylor Swift. And then the night before, she was at some Pride Awards with amazing Pride makeup as well.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Was that the one she was with Gemma Collins at, or was that another one?
I actually think it was that one, maybe.
Maybe it was that one.
Yeah.
I know she saw the guy from Mew Mew's.
Yes, I was about to mention that. So
Bradley
from Mew Mew's, he went to Girls Aloud and then went out in Soho afterwards and ran into Faye Tozer. As you do, just in Soho.
Why couldn't that happen when I was in Soho 10 years ago?
Why couldn't that happen when I was in Soho 3 weeks ago? Anyway, shall we move on to H? Let's move on to H. He's been a bit busy. So recently he's been on the One Show twice in the last month. Once to talk about his own journey as an artist, and another time to follow the journey of 3 artists submitting and then getting exhibited at the Royal Academy of the Arts. He also celebrated the 3rd Cowbridge Pride, which is the pride in his local town, and the one he founded as well. He's also going to perform a set at Groove Box Pride Festival in Binks Yard, which is part of Nottingham Pride, and you can find tickets for that at Fixr, FIXR.co. He's going to be judging one of the categories at the inaugural Style of the City Awards in December this year. But I guess the big thing that's been announced for H is he's coming for Claire's TV gigs. He's officially been announced as a contestant on the next season of Celebrity MasterChef UK, where he'll be competing amongst the likes of Charlotte, Crosby and Mutia from the Sugar Babes. I mean,
will be watching
who's
every episode I can of this.
Who's going to do a better vape on a plate,
I know.
Mutia or H? H's will be maybe Rainbow.
Yeah.
You saw that meme on Twitter
Yeah.
that's going viral of like
Absolutely.
Mutia in Celebrity MasterChef, and it's a vape with like a garnished of a lemon and a bit of parsley.
I think she probably created that and posted it herself. She's
Probably.
been aware of how much she doesn't cook.
Very excited to see H on that.
Moving on to Queen of the Huns herself, our Lisa. She recently celebrated 10 years of the Dubai Performing Arts and announced that she and her husband Johnny have just signed off on another business venture.
I bet it'll be obscenely delicious.
I reckon too. Weave Watch is back. She also briefly uninstalled her weave, but it is back looking fabulous.
Thank you, Lisa.
On to Lee. Well, Lee has been a bit quiet on the professional front, but he did just buy an electric vehicle.
That's why they call him Sensible Steps.
Absolutely sensible steps. So yeah. Anyway, that's the news for now. Scott, tell us about the episode.
I'm really excited about this episode. This is a little bit of a different sort of topic that we've decided to go through today. So everyone knows Steps for their range of covers, including obviously your staple tracks like Last Thing in My Mind, Tragedy, Chain Reaction, and Something in Your Eyes, just to name
Hard to forget.
Just to name one or two. But did you know that there have been a number of songs Steps recorded first, either as a group or solo tracks, that have then been covered by other artists after? Admittedly, we know there are quite a few karaoke or those really bad in the style of versions of Steps songs on streaming. We're definitely not counting those, although some of these probably sound like that. We're only considering official releases or versions that we found online that we thought were really interesting to talk about. And I actually think there's a few on this list that we've got here that are going to surprise some of you and some you may not even be aware of. So I guess let's jump into the first track we're going to talk about. And Brad, I might pass it over to you.
This is one of the first batch of songs Steps recorded along with 5, 6, 7, 8. The comments from the band over the years indicated that this was potentially going to be a follow-up to 5, 6, 7, 8, though thank God it wasn't. And we have got for you a version of the song Stompin' by the Fast Food Rockers.
1, 2, 3, 4. Stompin', our feet to the rhythm, stompin', our feet to the rhythm, stompin'. Can we keep on moving, keep our hands down, rockers to the stompin'. This body's burning, stompin', keeps feeling heat, stompin'. Let's do it again, it's like we want it, start the beat.
Now, for those of you who weren't aware, like I was just a few minutes ago, the Fast Food Rockers was a novelty pop group that was a project of Mike Stock and Steve Crosby. Steve Crosby, of course, was one of the co-writers of 5, 6, 7, 8. Their most notable song was the Fast Food song, which reached number 2 on the UK singles chart. And their version of Stompin' appears on the 2003 album It's Never Easy Being Cheesy. What did you boys think of Stompin'?
I mean, it's very Fast Food Rockers, isn't it?
It's like looking into an alternative universe of what Steps could have been, right?
Steps would have Stepsified their version, hopefully. But it was early on. Like, if this was
too early on.
if this was going to be considered Steps' second single, I'm very glad it wasn't their second single. And if it was going to be sung in a similar vein as this Fast Food Rockers version, I anticipate the Fast Food Rockers version was the cheese was amped up to a 25. Then, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Pleasant is not the right word. It's just okay.
Well, my comments on this are I'm glad it wasn't the follow-up to 5, 6, 7, 8, and I think Steps were probably too, because I think had this actually been the follow-up, then we wouldn't be sitting here doing a podcast today. Like, it would have been, thank God, Last Thing in My Mind kind of was a bit of course correction. I think, I think we can say that, the Steps version did leak last year, and people have heard it. We're not going to play it on the podcast, but it's out there to some degree, and I've heard a bit of it. The Steps version definitely sounded a lot more 5, 6, 7, 8-ish, and probably less cheesy than the Fast Food Rockers version, but it's still cheesy, and I'm just glad that, I think we can all say we're really glad that Steps never officially released it.
100%.
Yeah, the Fast Food Rockers, look, they did a good job. And actually, Fast Food Rockers, they were big. Like, they had a number 2 big selling single that, sold a lot of records and did well. So,
Yeah, but Axel F by Crazy Frog went to number 1. Like, in the early 2000s, that wasn't necessarily the peak of pop music. I am glad, though, Scott, you brought it up, because I had some thoughts on the lyrics of the leaked version. So, Steps' version was actually a fair bit more adult. Yeah. Lyric-wise. So, like, some of the lyrics are stomping with an attitude below the waist, rocking my baby, rolling all night, honking and tonking feels so right. And then it's followed by the girls going, got my tush, gonna push it. It's all very hoochie mama, show your nanas, if you know what I mean. Like, it's all very, like...
Do you know what? I can't say that I realised... I must have not been listening too much to the lyrics of either version to notice those differences, but of course you did, and I'm very grateful that you did notice that. But
no, because the Fast Food Rockers version, they were calling out the members' names, like rocking with Nia, rocking with Martin, and so I was like, okay, well, what's the Steps version? It's
rocking with Lisa.
I wish they had not done that, but no, it was all a little bit, not the Steps we grew to love. I'll say that.
Yep. And thank God for that.
But it's interesting to hear what could have been, I guess. All right, the next song that we are talking about is the one that has been recorded by other artists the most, and that is 5, 6, 7, 8. We all know it appeared on Step 1 and was written by Upton and Crosby. We are talking about 3 different versions of the track that have been covered by other artists. The first one was by Taiwanese pop star Yuki in 1998. She covered it and retitled it 5, 6, 7, 8 Going. And it was taken from her album titled Going, Going, Going.
Sense the theme.
And the Taiwanese edition of Step 1 actually includes a bonus Yuki mini CD that I actually have with Yuki's version of 5, 6, 7, 8. And I can probably only assume that this was done as a little bit of a cross-promotion to help both artists in the Taiwanese territory at the time. And I do wonder if there was maybe an option for them to do like a duet, and then that didn't happen. So this was like the next kind of idea. I'm quite intrigued as to how this came to be. The second version that we are going to talk about is by a DJ called Captain Hook, which this version appeared on the 2006 Japanese compilation Heim Trance 2. And the original version of the song also notably appeared on the Club Disney Super Dancin' Mania Non-Stop Mix. Whatever the hell that means. And the third version that we found was by a Belgium singer-songwriter called Laura Lynn. She covered 5678 for her 2018 album Country, and the song is sung entirely in Dutch. And this album actually reached number 1 on the Ultra Pop Top 200, which not everybody has that. So,
I was going to say.
you know, good on you, Laura. And Laura Lynn is actually a platinum-selling artist who even has a star on the Walk of Fame in her hometown of Ardouy. I hope I've said that right, in Belgium. So before we talk about them, let's just take a listen to all 3 versions, and then let's chat about them.
现在就要去旅行，是外太空或是去地心，爱情是冒险电影，你是救星，把钱又把你鸟起，因为有空不用害心，要把神经 Where are we going?
So, boys, what are our thoughts on the Yuki, Captain Hook, and Laura Lynn versions of 5678?
I love that both the Taiwanese and the Captain Hook versions have a random horse noise in it. That was what I noticed. And hopefully the listeners will have noticed that in the snippets that we have. I also don't mind the, where are we going in the Yuki version as well. I think that's catchy. I didn't realize it was part of a theme of going. I was like, why is that in there? But now it makes sense.
I too noticed the horse note and was just like, what? That's weird. I will say I struggled to listen to definitely the first 2. I mean, the Yuki's version, it's very Asian-esque. It's very, of that sort of Asian pop sort of kawaii, sort of cute sort of vibe to it. The Captain Hook version made me want to go to the nearest time zone and do Dance Dance Revolution. There's shout out to Time Zone. That's a 1990 reference there for you. For our UK listeners, Time Zone's like an arcade place that we had here in Australia. It's Japanese Dance Dance Revolution. It's those dancing machines that you play at those places. That has to be that. And Laura Lynn's version, I mean, look, that was lovely.
You say that like it's such a loaded insult. Scott, you liked that version though, didn't you?
I actually did. The Yuki version, first of all, I don't know if either of you watched. There is a music video to this as well. Like, this was budget. Like, the Yuki version had budget. The music video is very, what Shane said, Japanese, K-pop inspired.
Kawaii.
So the video is actually quite fun. It's got budget. As I said before, I do wonder if there was an idea to do a duet with Steps with Yuki and it fell through. So this was like a second option, because I did find it interesting that the Taiwanese version had the Yuki version as like a bonus mini CD. But the Captain Hook version is just like, I just need to be at a rave. That's what that is giving me.
Literally.
Well, I love that, Shane, you need to be at a time zone, and Scott, you need to be at a rave.
I need to be at a rave. I need to be at an underhouse rave at 4 a.m.
I mean, that was my initial thoughts, but then I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to talk about drugs on this podcast to start with. We're only 10 minutes in, so,
What are you talking about?
You know what I mean?
Yes,
so, yeah.
yes.
Same thing, same.
Yeah, but the Laura Lynn version I quite like, because it was out of the 3, it was the one where it felt like a proper cover. And the fact that it's sung completely, like entirely in a different language, which we've never heard before, I really liked. And Laura kind of has at least put her own spin on it, which the others we haven't spoken about don't. They all just sort of go for the standard sort of trance, beat with the lyrics over it. Whereas the Laura Lynn version, it's very much, they've made it their own. And yeah, as I said, hearing it in a different language was quite interesting. And there is no horse neighing on Laura's version.
Even though it's a country version, but I don't
Even though it's the most country out of all of them.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's even more country than the original
Yeah.
version sung by Steps.
Let's go into some good covers.
Yes, let's go to the next one. Shane, what is the next one we're going to go through?
The next song is a cover done by two people. It's one of Steps' biggest songs. It was number 2 in 1998 from their first album, Step 1. It was One for Sorrow. Claire Richards did a piano version cover of One for Sorrow in 2015. It was arranged and produced exclusively for Claire's performance at the Festival Hall as part of Pete Waterman's A Life in Song concert. Steve Anderson produced and arranged it, and was initially released digitally on July 20th, 2015 via her official SoundCloud and then eventually on iTunes. And in September, after much demand, was that September the same year? Yeah?
Yeah.
A piano version of Deeper Shade of Blue was also released, which was recorded in one take. Let's have a listen to that.
Ain't it too bad? I am breaking someone else's heart, 'cause you're taking my love where you are. Well, I'm wild for sorrow. Ain't it too bad about us? Well, I'm wild for sorrow, and I'm a deeper shade of blue. And there's nothing I can do. You're so far, far away, and I'm a darker shade of me, and I just can't be.
That was a lovely, nice recording of One for Sorrow and Deeper Shade of Blue, piano style, that Claire has done. Before we get into what we all think about it, I'm going to talk about the next artist who recorded One for Sorrow, and that's Sean Smith. Sean Smith recorded One for Sorrow in 2021. He was part of the sibling duo Same Difference, who came to fame via X Factor in 2007. They had a top 20 single, We Are One, in 2008 with their debut album Pop, which reached 22 on the UK album chart and is certified silver. In 2021, though, Sean independently released an album called Swing for the 90s, which featured covers of big 90s pop tracks given a swing big band makeover, including One for Sorrow, as well as End of the Line from the Honeys and Who Do You Think You Are by the Spice Girls. The album reached number 1 on the UK iTunes Jazz chart, and, you know, not everyone has that.
Now I know you're somewhere else right now, loving someone else, no doubt. Well, I'm one for sorrow, ain't it too bad? I ain't breaking someone else's heart, 'cause you're taking my love where you are. Well, I'm one for sorrow, ain't it too bad about us?
Boys, I have some thoughts, but I'll say mine in a minute. What are yours?
I really like Claire's solo version of One for Sorrow. It sounds really mature and lived in. I don't know, it feels like maybe because the original version, you know, Claire was so young at the time, like, it doesn't have that kind of pathos to it. Whereas I think the 2015 version does have it. I don't love the Deeper Shade of Blue. It's a bit too slow for me. Now, I wouldn't be surprised, though, if this is what we get on Here and Now, just because it does work as a ballad, but I hope that they add some kind of tempo adjustments or some kind of storytelling elements to it. Sean Smith, great guy, lovely guy, can't get into it. I think it's just, I'm not a jazz boy, and I also think it ends quite suddenly. What are your thoughts?
So on the Claire version of One for Sorrow, I remember that and Deeper Shade of Blue coming out and being really, really excited at the prospect of a Claire Richards solo album after all these years, because this was after Steps reunion and before Tears on the Dance Floor, so it was in that sort of bridging period, and I remember being excited that, is this maybe the start of something from Claire? I really like the version of One for Sorrow. Again, I'm probably with you, Brad. I'm not the biggest fan of the slowed down version of Deeper Shade of Blue. I think it's not that it doesn't work. It just, for me, it's not I'd much prefer it to be a bit faster. But again, it would be cool if that was sort of what we got in the musical. Maybe that could give us a bit of an indication of how these songs can be reinterpreted in different ways. The Sean version, I actually don't mind, because I actually have always wondered what a big band Abbey Road style Steps album would sound like. Definitely it would be better than this.
But the Shane version,
but
yeah.
it kind of
Shane Smith, yep.
But it does make me want a Steps big band Abbey Road style album. But look, all I'm just gonna say it. Sean can sing this version of On For Sorrow to me anytime he bloody likes. Google him and then you'll know what I mean. They're my thoughts.
I mean, Scott, you and I have, and Brad as well, we're actually all on the same page today. I love the slow version of One for Sorrow. I mean, it has maturity to it, Brad. You are 100% correct. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, okay, I actually believe the lyrics she's singing now, as opposed to, well, I didn't believe them the first time, but there's more soul behind it, if that makes sense. More growth, more maturity. Deeper Shade of Blue, I'm with you boys on that one. I need it as a bop, not as a slow version. Like, it's not bad. I just prefer it faster. That's just a preference. Sean Smith's One for Sorrow. I was like, oh, this is a poor man's Michael Bublé when I'm listening to right now at the start, and then it gets into that, and I'm just like, okay, this is not for me. This is not how I want to hear this version of this song. But that's because I don't want to hear it from him. So I was getting Abbey Road vibes as well from both of these releases, actually, from Claire's version and from Sean's, going, I want to hear a complete Steps Abbey Road. I want to hear Steps with a big band number. Claire is in her element singing these acoustic versions, these piano versions of songs. She loves it. She loves a park and bark. You know what I mean? So she's in her element here. Yeah, Sean's version, I mean, you're right, babes, but I want to see Steps do a big band version, because I just think the production and the gravity behind it, with all of their harmonies and all of their, all the vocals of them on it, would be incredible. So
I have one last little tidbit for you both. FBI federal Brad investigations have been on the hunt again. I don't know if either of you remember this. There used to be a rumor back in the day that Lee used to do a rock version of One for Sorrow when he was with his band, The Latch.
Yes, I also do remember that with The Latch, but I've never heard it. Has it ever been anything out there?
No.
See, I think I would prefer that over Sean's big band swing version, just because I just don't think the production of his big band swing version was that great. But that's just my opinion, and who am I? Just a host of a Steps podcast, I'm nobody, so...
But Sean, his voice is amazing, though. I will also just want to say that. He's an incredible voice.
He can swing his big band on me anytime.
But Brad, I think it's time we have a bit of a party to go to, Brad.
Are we going to have a party?
We do have a bit of a party to go to, and it's my favourite kind of party because it's a party starring Lee.
I thought you were going to say it's because it's a Tweenies party.
Twinkie, different.
Or you more Teletubbies.
I was a Wiggles. No,
actually, yeah, he's a bit Tinky Winky inspired, isn't he?
I was a Wiggles boy.
Oh, you were a Wiggles. Which Wiggles were you?
Oh, I always like the blue Wiggle.
Yeah, Anthony.
Tall, dark, and handsome. Same him and the yellow one.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tweenies, Lee. The next song we're covering is We're Gonna Have a Party, which Lee famously did on the Next Step Live tour. It was his solo. He co-wrote it. We don't know who he co-wrote it with, but we know that he was very proud that he wrote it himself. In November 2000, it was reported that Lee had contributed this to the debut album from the Tweenies, who at the time were hugely popular in the UK with the top 5 single called Number One, which, oh wow, that's awkward. Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like Some Girls by Rachel Stevens getting
They
to
were
number
like
2.
manifesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, manifesting.
Jesus. It actually, reports of this even reached NME. Yes, that NME. Like, go figure, must have been a slow news week for them. Unfortunately, though, it only reached number 56 on the UK album charts. But hey, not everyone has that. So let's quickly listen if that's the right word, to the Tweenies version of We're Gonna Have a Party.
We're gonna have a party. Let's get down tonight. So come on everybody. I wanna make you feel alright. We're gonna have a party. Everybody lose control. Come on now and feel it in your soul. I was feeling down, didn't have nowhere to go, so I started ringing around.
I can honestly say I've never sought out the Tweenies version of We're Gonna Have a Party before. My life has not been made better by having heard this version of it. And I'm happy to leave this back in my 1999 memory bank where it belongs.
I'm with you there. I'm happy that I've listened to it once and I don't need to revisit this again because I'm older than you both and I have very few years left on this earth and I don't need to waste them listening to the Tweenies version. Thank you to Lee for creating this song. It's yours only. Please only you sing it from now on. Thank you.
I always get really annoyed that we didn't get the Lee version officially. Like, it would have been really good to have this as a B-side at some stage. It could have worked nicely into the releases in 2000, like, you know, B-side to Deeper Shade of Blue, or it could have been a B-side to Summer of Love, When I Said Goodbye, or even Stomp. Like, there was many opportunities where this could have been released. So it's a shame we never got it. But at the same time, like, I think people forget, similar to the Teletubbies, like, during this time, like, the Tweenies were a big deal. And I think sometimes we forget, like, Lee getting a co-write on an album at this time. Okay, whether it was the Tweenies or whatever it was, that was pretty good. Like, it was a big deal at the time because it was an era where you had like Teletubbies and the Tweenies and Bob the Builder, and they were all selling records and having big, like, charting singles. So, and they were big on TV. So, you know, good on him for getting this co-write so early on into their career, because no one else, you know, nobody else had that at the time.
And you know what? You're right, Scott. Like, kudos to Lee for securing that and giving the Tweenies to that song so he could make some coin and all that sort of stuff. And that's great in his sort of notch of his career. I just wish that it got further than number 56 on the chart. But still, kudos to him for that. And that's the positive silver lining I will take from that.
Yeah. And, you know, again, NME reporting on it, and it is the headline: Step Star joins Tweenies party. That is the NME headline from the 3rd of November 2000.
What was NME again? Remind me.
New Music Express.
Yeah, like,
That's right.
And it was mostly alternative rock indie that they focused on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know that, like, we've been a little bit salty about some of these choices, but I'm going to big up the next one because I really, really like it. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about the next song?
I am really excited to talk about this one because this is a big one. I'd probably say out of all of the ones we're going to talk about, this is probably up there as one of the bigger ones that has been covered. The song we're talking about next is Words Are Not Enough. As we know, it was essentially the final single from Steps before the split in 2001 and appeared on Gold. But in 2002, it was recorded by Sandy and Junior, who were a Brazilian pop duo who started releasing albums as young as 8 years old. And by 1999, when they were only 15 and 16 years old, they had already released close to 30 singles, 9 albums, and sold over 6 million albums in Brazil alone. And Words Are Not Enough was taken from their first international album, appropriately titled International, which peaked at number 9 on the Brazilian albums chart and has sold over 750,000 copies. Words Are Not Enough was the second single from the album, released in Brazil on the 23rd of September 2002. And the music video has massive high budget, like it is giving American money, with a notably high energy dance routine that actually reminds me a lot of All Out of Love. And they even performed this as part of the, oh God, I am not going to say this right, but I'm going to try, apologies, as part of the Ao Vivo no Rio de Janeiro festival in 2002 to an audience of over 100,000. So let's take a listen.
Until you prove me wrong. If you
So, boys, and maybe Brad, start with you because you're just so excited about this one. What are your thoughts on Sandy and Junior's version of Words Are Not Enough?
Okay, so my measure or not of whether I like it is, do I like it on Spotify? I like this one on Spotify. Like, it's in my list of, like, songs. Like, I actually genuinely, on its own merits, like it. It's better than the Steps version. And I'm saying that on a Steps podcast. For me, it is better than the Steps version. I reckon this was probably what the actual demo production of the song was, and then they made it more Christmassy for Steps because they knew it was going to be like the Christmas single.
Yeah, I was quite surprised because I was going through this list of songs, sort of in the way that we're talking about them today. So when we got to Words Are Not Enough, which is I'm not a massive fan of this song, the Steps version anyway. Like, it's nice, it's fine. I was quite surprised at it, and I was like, oh, okay, well was not what I was expecting, but they did a very good job of covering that. And you are right, Scott. I was like, what does this dance scene remind me of? And it's All Out of Love. So, yeah, I did think the start sounded a little bit like the first few notes of the start reminded me of Eternal Flame by the Bangles.
Yes.
I also feel like listening to the Sandy and Junior version, it sounds like this song was meant to be a duet.
But he doesn't really sing much on it. He just does harmonies. He doesn't really have a solo.
No, but it just gives me more like a girl-boy duo more than it does a group. Very 18s as
Very
well.
18s.
Yes.
Shane, what's next?
The next song is A Long Way Home. It was recorded by Charlotte Pirelli in 2004 and written by Douglas Carr, Parlon and Steps. It was believed to be written for gold. Long Way Home was written by Faye and Lee during a writing trip in Sweden. The song is credited to the whole group, however, and it's likely in the same way that Only My Dreams is, but Claire commented on to Ultimate Steps in 2014 that only Faye and Lee wrote Long Way Home. Long Way Home was featured on Swedish singer Charlotte Pirelli's third album, Gone Too Long, which peaked at number 11 on the Swedish albums chart in 2004, and a demo version with Faye's vocals leaked at Christmas time last year. So let's have a listen to Charlotte's version.
I must confess, this emptiness won't leave until you know it's a long way home. I just can't go there alone. It's a long way home. You know, don't wanna make it on my own.
Charlotte's version is, I would expect nothing less than a camp version from Charlotte Pirelli.
I think it's got the foundation of a good Steps track.
Yes, I agree with that.
Like, it's in the DNA. It just needs a fresh coat of paint. And I'd love a 2027 version with all of Steps on it. We know that a version came out with just Faye's vocals on it. If you heard it, you'd know that she sounds good on it. But I'd love a version with all 5 of them. Why not? And they're already getting equal writing credits for it, so they might as well milk it.
Yeah, look, I'm with you on that. It just made me want to hear a proper Steps version of it. That's what it made me want to do, because I was like, oh, this stands as a great song, because I love Only in My Dreams, and if it's written in the same sort of vein as we sort of mentioned earlier, then I think it could be a great Stepsified song.
So I was listening to Charlie XCX's new album Brat last week, and something that I noted, and I sent it to both of you in our chat, is the song Everything Is Romantic. The beginning melody at the start of that track is, to me, very, 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 very similar to the melody of Long Way Home. So if you haven't heard that song, go and have a listen to it and just see if you can hear what I hear, because it's very, very similar.
I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie sampled that, because she does sample quite a lot of songs for some of her songs. Like, she'll get a sample and twist it and sort of has a similar vibe. So
very, very similar. I think this would have just fit on gold so well.
Agreed.
And it was obviously written at that same period. Oh, it's probably too late to be on gold at this point, but it would have fit on gold. But it also was just, it's interesting because it gives us an indication of what a potential next album from that era could have sounded like. And I would have loved some more tracks in this vein. I have heard the version that leaked last year, and it's pretty identical. The production is different with Charlotte's version. It's just a little bit more leveled up because it was a few years later, so the production's been sort of moved with the times. but the structure is very much the same. And yeah, I would have loved to have had an official Steps version of this in the end.
Do you think a Steps version of this song in 2002, like I haven't done like a lyric by lyric analysis of it, but I know that at some points, like I think like there's like bits where she goes sexual and that kind of stuff. Do you think that could have worked in a Steps song?
You know, I think at that period of time as well, remember I felt like Steps were maturing a lot with their image as well. So it kind of would have made sense that probably going into 2002, had they not broken up, maybe they would have just continued to level up maturity a little bit with the lyrics and with the image, etc. So it would have fit into that time frame, I think.
I just remembered as well that Chain Reaction is filthy, but anyway.
But they changed the lyrics for that.
Not enough.
Scott, you're right. Like this is a real glimpse into their next album. Potentially could have been, had they not split in 2001. It would have been a much more grown up sound / look, I reckon.
So you guys do know me as FBI, Federal Brad Investigations, but Scott has trumped me today. Scott has found a version of a song that I did not know existed. So our next song is Let Me Carry You, which appeared on H and Claire's album Another You, Another Me, and was recorded by goddess Agnes. Now, this song was written by Jørgen Elofsson, who famously also wrote It's the Way You Make Me Feel and Mars and Venus for Steps. He also wrote Your Love Song and No Turning Back for the H and Claire album. I think No Turning Back was that a co-write with H and Claire as well, from memory? Potentially. I think that might have been a co-write. Regardless.
Let me Google while you talk,
Yes.
Brad.
Regardless, Queen Agnes, who we know for songs like Release Me in 24 Hours, recorded this song for her debut album Agnes in 2005. This was after she won the second season of Swedish Idol. Now, the album peaked at number 1 on the Swedish album charts and number 57 on the European albums chart. What I've pulled together for you guys is a little bit of a comparison of the key change moment between H and Claire and Agnes.
When you feel like calling me, I'll be there for sure. For sure. Let me carry you. Let me be the one. Let me carry you. Let me be the one. Let me care for you. When you feel like holding me, I'll be there for sure. Let me carry you. Oh yeah, Let me.
So obviously the harmonies between having H and Claire do it together are sublime, right? Those two sound well together. How should I put this? Agnes did a great cover. I was not when I saw in the notes it was Agnes, I was like, "What? Agnes?" I was sort of like, I was not expecting a name that I know to record one of Steps or H and Claire's songs. I thoroughly enjoyed it. She did a very good job. The key change was my note of point, and I think you're going to talk about it too, Brad. I think Claire does it better.
Okay.
You don't agree?
No. Agnes's version to me feels more dramatic. It's got the strings and her voice just is given the full range to express her delight at being carried or to carry someone. Claire does sound fantastic, but I feel like the production on that one, because it's so mellow and it has the choir, and I feel like they drown her out a little bit more. There's such a conscious effort to make her an H equal on that track. When Agnes kind of gets the full range to do whatever she wants, Claire's just feels that one bit like paled in to me.
So also just going back to before to answer your question, No Turning Back was a co-write with H and Claire as well.
Yes!
Yeah, so you were right. The Agnes version to me sounds, and obviously would sound like this because it was from an Idol win. It sounds very Idol winning single coded to me. The production gives me, I've won Idol or I've been on a singing competition and this is my winner's single. That's sort of what the production gives to me, versus the H and Claire version. It's not as glossy as the Agnes version. I actually have a little bit of a 6 degrees of separation. You know how we always like to talk about Australian connections with your, is it Jurgen? Is that how you say his name? Don't want to say
Jurgen,
wrong.
yeah.
With Jurgen. So he actually also wrote We Think It's Love by Leah Haywood.
Banger.
Absolute banger.
Which any Aussie pop fans will know that track. But the 6 degrees of separation is he also co-wrote What You've Done to Me by Samantha Jade, who also was co-written with Tanya Doko from Bachelor Girl, who co-wrote Don't You Leave Us
my
Halfway
God.
on the What the Future Holds Part 1 album. So that's a whole Australian connection. We will always find it.
Another continued Australian connection with Steps.
Yep. And he also wrote You Drive Me Crazy and Sometimes by Britney. He also wrote Stronger as well by Kelly Clarkson. So this guy, massive Swedish songwriter.
I think we have a bunch of Unleashed songs to get through now.
I know, yeah. So the next few now are actually all Lisa Scott Lee. We actually have 4 Lisa Scott Lee tracks to talk through. The first one is one that I think people will be a bit shocked by, that to know that this actually has been covered. But the first song we're going to talk through is Lately. As we know, it appeared on Never or Now. It was the debut single from Queen of the Huns, Lisa Scott Lee. It was written by Lisa and, of course, the boys at Point 4, who we had the most amazing pleasure of chatting to in our last episode. This version was recorded by DJ Ray in 2008. DJ Ray was a Spanish trance DJ, and this track was actually released under the title Baby in brackets Lately. And the B-side to the 12-inch only single was a remake of Two in a Room's Wiggle It. And the single artwork for this release is very not suitable for work, with an image of a lady's legs in a G-string and high heels. You can give it a Google. Let's take a listen to DJ Ray's version of Lately.
You don't know what you're doing to me, boy. You don't know how you're moving to me, boy. I don't know what you're doing to me, boy. It seems like lately something's coming over me, baby. I'm feeling like you're driving me crazy. No one turns me on like you do when I'm with you. It seems like
Look, it just feels like a harder version of the Soda Club mix to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't really add anything
Yeah.
to the song, but, you know, it had been a few years at this point. Different country where Lately hadn't been released. Why not?
Take me to Dance Dance Revolution again.
Which we now know means code for take him to an underground rave where he can ingest things that we can't mention.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm with you there. I don't have too much to add. It didn't really, you know, it's just a dancier, trancier version of it. It doesn't really add too much to it. I prefer the Lisa version, of course.
Yeah, definitely prefer the Lisa version. I always wonder when covers like this happen, like, where was DJ Ray one day and did he just hear the Lisa version and just thought, hey, I'm just going to do a cover of this track? Like, I would love to know where this idea for, considering like you've got, you know, this and then the other song was Wiggle It by Two in a Room, like 2 very diverse different, you know, tracks. Like, would love to know the history behind why he decided to cover it. The vocalist is okay on it. I don't know who that is, but she sounds all right, does the job. It's very trancey, very hard.
Pass me the glow sticks. Let's go to the club.
Glow sticks. Shane, what's the next one we are talking through?
Well, the next track that we have to review is Back in Time, which is also a Lisa track. It appeared on Never or Now, recorded by Angel City in 2005, and was written by Queen of the Huns, Lisa Scott Lee herself, Philip Larson, Tiff Lacey, and Elliott Smith. Originally recorded by Lisa for Unleash and eventually appearing on Never or Now, this was the big Lisa fan favourite after being available on Unleashed, the album sample in 2003. Angel City were a Dutch dance project consisting of DJ Renegade, Aldwin Omen, and a British vocalist Lara McCallan. They had 4 UK top 20 singles, including top 10 single Sunrise and a cover of Kathy Dennis's 90s hit single Touch Me All Night Long. And Back in Time featured on their album Love Me Right, which reached 44 on the UK albums chart. The group was signed to Ministry of Sound, which may have been a link to this being covered by the group, with Lisa releasing Get It On via the same label the year prior. Let's take a listen.
What I did still makes me cry. I wanna go back in time, I wanna go back and do it all again. That day in my life again.
So, the production sounds clearer on Lisa's version, much clearer, much more polished. It almost feels like a paint-by-numbers cover of Lisa's song, right? It hasn't added much to it. It's pretty much the same with a slightly different vocalist, and, I think because Lisa's album didn't really come out, wasn't released properly the way it should have been. This was released instead because this song was up for grabs to release, I guess.
They didn't have to reinvent the wheel because no one had actually seen the original wheel
Correct.
the diehard, Steps fans. I also don't like that they go, I want to go back every 2 seconds in the Angel City version.
And they do that whoa, 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 whoa. They have that throughout the song. Whoa, whoa.
Scott's doing his audition for The Voice with us.
I actually don't mind the Angel City version, I have to say. Lisa version, of course, will be the superior version, but I don't hate this version. Kind of annoyed. It's not on streaming. Angel City's back catalogue there's a couple of tracks, but this album isn't on streaming, so it would be nice if it was up there, because obviously
We want that,
get that on
definitely.
streaming, then Lisa gets more royalties, so, get that on streaming for that. The production is very Angel City. It's a lot more... I don't know how to describe it. Lisa's version, obviously the production sounds fuller and finished. The Angel City production just feels a little bit airy.
Like it's almost a finished demo. Or it's a finished demo that just needs a lick of production.
So our next track, despite all my investigating, this is the only track on the list that either officially or unofficially, we have never heard the original version in full. It's Bad Girl, which was due to appear on Unleashed. It was recorded by Jenny Frost from Atomic Kitten in 2006. We don't officially know who wrote it, but we believe it was written or co-written by Dom Thrupp, who was dating Jenny at the time. So Bad Girl, I don't know if you guys remember, right around the time that Lately came out, a whole bunch of 30-second loops were deliberately leaked by Mercury to basically flush out any actual... demos on Livewire. A lot of acts were doing that at the time. Madonna famously did it with American Life. So that was quite common at the time. So we did get the 30-second loop of Lisa's version of this song. And we know her the official version, but in 2006, Jenny posted her version of the song on her official MySpace page, and it was tipped to be on her debut album, which also sadly never materialized. So let's have a quick squiz at Jenny Frost's Bad Girl. Na, na, na,
Reminds
na,
me
na,
of
na, na.
you know that song from Summer Heights, right? She's a naughty girl with a bad habit. Sounds like that. I'm a bad girl.
I would love to hear a Lisa version of this. Like all those
Same.
spooky bits. Like Lisa was the queen of those bits, and you would have never met me, or whatever that bit was. Like
It just took me back to a time where I used to download music from like LimeWire, Napster on my computer, have an iPod, and would upload. And I've still got these MP3s on my computer somewhere. So I've got that 30-second loop because I downloaded it, and it just took me to the point where I was just like, thinking it was Lisa's version and me wanting to hear it from Lisa.
But you know, the 30-second loop, because that version only has the na 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 na, that version actually stays the same from the demo to Jenny's version because it's just a backing vocalist.
I know, but it's still, for me, it was like Lisa Scott Lee, Bad Girl, and so I just want to hear a Lisa version. So
Never on Our 50 is coming soon, so you know.
Never on Our 50. Had Lisa officially released this in the end, it would have definitely fit, I think, along the lines of like, it was very similar to Sleazy as well, in the same vein, so it would have fit in nicely. You know, maybe on Unleashed it might have been towards the end of the album to kind of like, you know, slow things down a bit, but it's a very sexy, very sultry track. Jenny Frost talks it really well. I mean, sings it really well. No, Jenny is an icon. I love her.
Scott, take us home.
Oh my God. Okay. So the very last one we are going to talk about, I have to say thank you, Brad, because you originally brought this onto our sphere. I think it was earlier this year. You had searched to listen to the Lisa version of this, and then you came across an alternative version on Spotify. The last song we are talking about is Obscenely Delicious. Appeared on Never on Now. It was written by Julie Morris, Juliet James, and Steve Welton James. And in 2007, this was recorded by Bulgarian singer Petia Pavlova, who in the 90s was the face of Pepe Jeans, fun fact. And Obscenely Delicious appeared on her third album, Runaway. And another fun fact, Obscenely Delicious was co-written by Juliet and Steve, who also co-wrote Kiss Kiss by That Person We No Longer Speak Of. And originally recorded by Lisa for Unleashed and eventually appearing on Never On Now, this was another massive Lisa fan favorite after being available on the Unleashed album sampler in 2003. And the Petia version in 2007 was released as a single and reached number 5 in the MTV European World Chart Express chart, number 5 in the Bulgarian Top 100, and in October 2007 entered the top 50 chart of Mad TV Greece, the first entry of a Bulgarian artist in the Greek charts to do so. Not everybody has that.
I was about to say the same thing.
So let's take a listen to Petia's version of Obscenely Delicious. All right, what are our thoughts?
First of all, like one of the reasons why we included this is because this has a video clip as well.
Oh, the video is that now. This video is not suitable for work.
It is giving Real Housewives of Bulgaria.
Oh my God, yeah.
This whole thing is giving Real Housewives of Bulgaria, honestly. I need Gamble from Real Housewives of Melbourne to do a cover next,
Yes,
please.
100%. Yes.
I mean, Brad, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, wow, Real Housewives of Bulgaria. Is it obscenely delicious?
It's obscene.
Period. Point. Full stop. Obscene.
The music video also, there's a lot of costume changes. Like, there's budget, honey, for this video. There's a lot of money, obviously, in the Bulgarian pop video market in 2007.
Not everyone has that.
I would also say, and no disrespect to Petia, you're gorgeous, but Lisa does sing this better. I prefer Lisa.
Yep, me too. Yep. It's not even pleasant. It's just, I prefer Lisa's version. Yep.
Yep, but good on her. You know, she got the top 50 chart entry of Mad TV Greece.
It was number 5 in the Bulgarian Top 100.
Yeah, exactly. Not, you know, Not everyone has that.
Should we change the title of this episode to Not Everyone Has That?
I know that we last year, if you haven't listened, please go listen. We did a couple of episodes about what singles like we would have picked for albums. I just want to say I love Obscenely Delicious. That would have been my fourth single after I'll Wait For You, You Sure Do. Because I think it's a little bit darker. I think Lisa had she had gotten rid of her brown hair at the time, but she had like the wavy black hair. And I just think it's that little bit more sultry. And I have a whole video treatment in my head. Like,
I was going to say, wasn't Lisa in a gold bikini in a villa in Bulgaria? No? Wasn't that?
Lisa in a bold bikini in Dubai.
Yeah, in Dubai, of course, Dubai. Yeah. I could see this as fourth single. You know, you would have had third single, I'll Wait For You, with the snow video that the boys told us about in last episode. And then afterwards she needed to defrost. So she goes to Bulgaria or Dubai, and she has a little music
Dubai.
video on the villa. In the
She has a gold bikini moment.
and then she goes, and then when like it's the last chorus, she goes to like a time zone, and then in the back of the time zone is actually an underground rave, just to bring this whole podcast full circle.
And there's and then they play DJ Ray's version of Lately.
Well, that brings us to the end of the episode, so let's go through some plugs, because we wouldn't be ending an episode without any. Following on from the Point 4 episode we did recently, we did some research and compiled a Point 4 playlist on our YouTube channel. It includes all of Lisa's officially released songs with Point 4, a couple of demos from YouTube, and even tracks that Point 4 suggested to Lisa and Steps, and were recorded by other artists such as I'll Do You and Dirty Love. If you're interested, search for Glitter and Gold, the Original Steps podcast on YouTube, and check it out.
And we're also going to add a playlist of all the songs that we spoke about in today's episode. There'll also be a playlist of all of those ones on there as well.
Here and Now is playing from the 9th to the 30th of November at the Alexandra Theatre in Birmingham. For more information, go to thestepsmusical.com. Claire, Faye and Lee all have shows and or pantos coming up. And you can get more information for these by going to their respective Instagram pages. And I'm sure we'll share stuff in our stories as well, so you can find out information there. If you liked what you heard today, you want to give us a like, a rate, or subscribe wherever you get your podcast fix from, don't forget to follow us at Glitter Steps Pod on Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube as well. If you want to follow me, I'm Shane. You can follow me at Stepmeister on Instagram or StepmeisterOZ on X. Scott, where can they follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me at StepsCollection_ on Instagram, and I'm finally posting on there again after, ignoring it for about a year. So go and give me a follow over there. And Brad, where can they follow you?
I'm just on Instagram, Brad Schmerling. Give me a follow, give me a like, do what you like.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and until next time, we will see you soon.
Bye.